a whole Muslim nation came to the aid of suffering Christians in Europe. The Irish population saved by the Ottoman Sultan, a truly remarkable story. In 1847, Ireland was suffering under the terrible toll of 1 million deaths and the mass exodus, mainly to the US, of another million people during the Great Famine. Also, it was known as the potato famine. The people were so desperate, it was said, from hunger, that they even ate grass and soil. When, thousands of miles away, the Ottoman Sultan Abdulmejid I heard about this, he declared that he would send 10,000 pounds. Now, that's the equivalent in today's money of about $2 million. He would send 10,000 pounds to help the Irish population. So here we have the ruler of the Muslim Empire sending vast sums of money to help the Catholic population in Ireland. He is said to have been guided by the saying, a hadith of the Prophet Muhammad, upon whom be peace, which goes like this: "He is not a believer whose stomach is filled while his neighbor goes hungry." He's not a believer whose stomach is filled while his neighbor goes hungry. And the Sultan applied this principle even to the geopolitical situation in which he found himself. At the end of this, I'm going to quote some verses from the Quran which say pretty much the same thing. And these verses apply to all of humanity, not just to other Muslims. Queen Victoria of England, who referred to the Irish population as, quote, "nothing more than cattle in my backyard," unquote, intervened, however, and asked that the Sultan send only 1,000 pounds, as she had donated just 2,000 pounds herself and didn't want to appear stingy. So she didn't want to be outshone, outclassed by these Muslims. Oh, no. So she put pressure on them to reduce the amount that they gave to the Irish. But there's more to this story, though. Incidentally, on the very same day that the Queen made her donation to the Irish, she gave a significantly larger sum to a British dog shelter. This bizarre choice explains why Victoria became known by the nickname the Famine Queen, a title by which she is still remembered in Ireland today, apparently. So the Sultan officially agreed to send only 1,000 pounds. I mean, it's a huge amount of money in those days. In secret, however, he also dispatched 5 ships loaded with food and medicine. The British government devised a plan to block the ships from entering Dublin port upon their arrival. So it wasn't just about ego of the Queen not wanting to be overshone by Muslims. The British government actually took steps to stop aid to starving people in Ireland. This is remarkable. As a result, the aid was delivered instead somewhere else, to the nearby port of Drogheda. Because, by the way, the Muslims had learnt of the cunning plan of the English blockade, so they learned about it, so they went somewhere else. And it was there that the Ottoman sailors unloaded their cargo. What a despicable thing to do. You know, you had a national emergency, millions of people dying of hunger, and the British blocking aid from entering Dublin simply because they didn't want to be more aid than the Queen was giving. The Irish population, though, was so grateful for the Islamic support that they, since they had little else, they sent a letter of thanks to the Ottomans. Decades later, at the start of the 20th century, the football club Drogheda was founded. Shortly after its founding, the club changed its logo in memory of this event to incorporate the symbols of the Ottoman flag. As you can see, the crescent moon and the 5-pointed star. And this football club, which still exists today, there's a Wikipedia page about them, they won the Irish League title in 2007, and it bears the nickname the Turks. They're known as the Turks. So there's still a memory of this, even in this football club which exists today. So that, in brief, is the story of how the Irish population was saved by the Ottoman Sultan.